Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into one of the most exciting topics for coin collectors and treasure hunters. First up, the 1959 Monticello 5 cents Jefferson Nickel with a D mint mark, a coin that is both historically significant and highly collectible. Even though this example is in fine condition with a black color shade, it remains a sought-after piece for collectors and investors alike. Jefferson nickels like this one offer a window into mid-20th century American coinage and are an important part of any well-rounded coin collection. The Jefferson Nickel series was first introduced in 1938, replacing the Buffalo nickel, and features Thomas Jefferson, the third president of the United States, on the obverse. The reverse of the coin depicts Monticello, Jefferson's Virginia home, which has become an iconic design symbolizing his legacy. The series is known for its elegance and historical significance, and the 1959 nickel continues this tradition. Coins from this era are also notable for being made primarily of a copper-nickel alloy, giving them durability while preserving their design details over decades of circulation. A 1959 Jefferson nickel with a D mint mark was struck at the Denver Mint as indicated by the small letter D on the reverse near the date. Coins from Denver are a vital part of any date and mint mark collection. The D mint mark version of the 1959 nickel is relatively common compared to earlier nickels, but collectors still pay close attention to its condition, color, and eye appeal when assessing its value. Even in fine condition with a black color shade, this coin remains attractive for collectors who appreciate coins with natural toning or patina. The black color shade on this 1959 nickel is the result of natural oxidation over time. Copper-nickel alloys can develop darker surfaces when exposed to air and handling, creating a black, gray, or dark brown patina. While some collectors prefer coins that retain their original luster, many value naturally toned coins for their character and the story they tell about the coin's history. A nickel in fine condition with this black color shade shows wear from circulation but retains clear design elements. In fine condition, a 1959 Jefferson nickel displays moderate wear on both the obverse and reverse. Jefferson's portrait remains recognizable, though some details, such as the hair and facial lines, may be slightly worn. The Monticello design on the reverse is still identifiable, with most of the main architectural details preserved, even though the highest points may show flattening. Coins in this condition provide an excellent balance between historical authenticity and visual appeal. Now let's discuss value in today's auction market. A 1959 Jefferson nickel with a D mint mark in fine condition with a black color shade generally sells for around $1 to $3. Coins with better eye appeal, less wear, or more even toning may fetch higher prices, while heavily worn or damaged coins sell closer to the lower end. The auction market reflects collector interest, with coins that show attractive natural toning often bringing competitive bids from buyers seeking coins with character and history. Collectors often appreciate Jefferson nickels for their versatility. They are affordable, widely collected, and historically significant. The 1959 nickel is part of a post-war era that saw high mintages but also represents a moment in American numismatic history. Owning a coin from this period allows collectors to connect with everyday currency that circulated in homes and businesses across the United States during the late 1950s. First up, the 1943 Abraham Lincoln steel penny without mint mark. Unlike most other Lincoln wheat pennies, this coin was not made of copper, which immediately makes it stand out to collectors and beginners alike. Even in good condition with some scratches, this penny continues to attract attention and curiosity in today's coin market. The Lincoln Wheat Penny series began in 1909 and was produced until 1958. These coins normally contain copper, but during World War II, copper was considered a critical material for military use. To support the war effort, the United States Mint made a major change in 1943 by producing pennies from zinc-coated steel instead of copper. This decision resulted in one of the most unusual one-year coin types ever made in the United States. A 1943 steel penny without a mint mark means the coin was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. Philadelphia coins do not carry a letter below the date, while Denver coins have a D and San Francisco coins have an S. The Philadelphia Mint produced a very large number of steel pennies in 1943, making the no mint mark version the most common of the three mint locations. The steel penny has a silver-gray appearance due to its zinc coating. Over time, many of these coins developed scratches, wear, and dark spots where the zinc coating wore off, exposing the steel underneath. When steel is exposed, it can rust, which is why many 1943 pennies today show corrosion or surface damage. Scratches are extremely common on steel pennies because the metal is harder than copper and the zinc coating is thin. When a 1943 steel penny is described as being in good condition, it means the coin has heavy wear but the main details are still visible. Lincoln's portrait may appear flat in some areas, but his outline and facial features can still be recognized. The date and lettering are readable, and the wheat stalks on the reverse are worn but clear enough to identify. Some scratches are expected at this grade and are typical for coins that circulated heavily during wartime. Now, let's talk about value in today's market. A 1943 Abraham Lincoln steel penny without a mint mark in good condition with some scratches generally has a modest value. Most examples fall within a price range of approximately 25 cents to $1. Coins with fewer scratches, less rust, and better eye appeal may reach the higher end of this range, while coins with heavier corrosion or deep scratches may be worth closer to the lower end. It is important to understand that the 1943 steel penny is not rare by itself. Millions were produced, and many survive today. However, it remains popular because it is different from all other Lincoln pennies. Many collectors enjoy owning at least one steel penny because it tells a clear story about America during World War II. One important warning for collectors is rust. If a steel penny shows reddish-brown rust spots, that means the protective zinc coating has worn away. Rust can spread over time and further damage the coin, reducing its value. Storing steel pennies in a dry environment and protective holder helps slow down this process. Next up, the 1944 Monticello 5 cents Jefferson Nickel, large date, with a P mint mark, a coin that is both historically significant and highly collectible. Even though it is from the mid-20th century, this nickel has a rich story to tell, and collectors are always interested in examples that are in very fine condition. Coins like this one allow us to connect with American history and the currency that circulated during a remarkable era. The Jefferson Nickel series was introduced in 1938, replacing the Buffalo nickel, and features Thomas Jefferson, the third president of the United States, on the obverse. The reverse depicts Monticello, Jefferson's Virginia home, which is an iconic design, symbolizing his legacy and contribution to American history. The 1944 nickel is particularly interesting because it was produced during World War II, a time when coin production and circulation were impacted by the war effort. Collectors prize these nickels not only for their design, but also for the historical context they represent. A 1944 Jefferson nickel with a P mint mark indicates that it was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, as identified by the small letter P located on the reverse near the Monticello building. The 1944 large date variety refers to the style of the numbers in the date, which are taller and more pronounced compared to the small date variety. This subtle difference can affect collector interest and value, as some collectors seek to complete sets with both large date and small date examples from each year. The metal composition of the 1944 Jefferson nickel is primarily a copper-nickel alloy. Unlike the wartime nickels made from silver in 1942 to 1945, the 1944 Philadelphia large date nickel retained the standard copper-nickel blend, making it durable while maintaining the sharpness of its design. Over time, coins naturally develop patina, and those in very fine condition show light circulation wear while retaining most of the original details. In very fine condition, a 1944 Jefferson nickel displays slight wear on Jefferson's portrait, particularly on the cheek and hair, but his facial features remain clear and identifiable. The Monticello building on the reverse shows minor flattening on the highest points, yet most architectural details are still visible.
Coins in this grade retain strong overall design elements while showing the light, natural wear expected from decades of circulation. The very fine condition strikes a balance between a coin that has been used and one that still holds aesthetic appeal for collectors. Now let's discuss value in today's auction market. A 1944 Jefferson Nickel large date P mint mark in very fine condition generally sells for around $5 to $15. Coins with exceptional eye appeal or more pronounced original details can fetch slightly higher prices, especially when sold through auctions where collectors compete for desirable examples. While the 1944 nickel is not considered extremely rare, its value comes from its historical context, condition, and the large date variety that collectors find appealing. Collectors appreciate Jefferson Nickels for their design, affordability, and historical significance. The 1944 nickel is part of a mid-20th century series that circulated widely but still holds collectible appeal due to its connection to the wartime era. Owning a coin like this allows collectors to hold a tangible piece of history and a coin that was used by everyday Americans during a period of global change.
Next up, the 1944 Abraham Lincoln wheat penny with D mint mark, a well-known and widely collected American coin from the World War II era. This penny may look common, but it carries strong historical value and steady collector interest, especially when found in very fine condition, even with some scratches from circulation. The Lincoln Wheat Penny series began in 1909 and continued until 1958. These coins feature a portrait of President Abraham Lincoln on the front and two wheat stalks on the back, symbolizing prosperity and agriculture. The year 1944 is especially important because it marked the return to copper pennies after the steel cents of 1943. During the war, copper was needed for military supplies, so steel was used for 1 year. In 1944, the U.S. Mint returned to copper alloy made largely from recycled shell casings. A 1944 wheat penny with D mint mark means the coin was struck at the Denver Mint. The small letter D appears below the date on the front of the coin. The Denver Mint produced a large number of pennies in 1944, so this coin is not considered rare, but it is still collected by many people who build complete wheat penny date and mint mark sets. The metal composition of the 1944 wheat penny is primarily copper, with small amounts of zinc and tin. Over many decades, copper coins naturally darken and develop a brown or red-brown color. Because these pennies circulated heavily during and after the war, many surviving examples show wear, light scratches, and surface marks. When a coin is described as being in very fine condition, it means the coin shows moderate wear, but still retains strong design details. On a very fine 1944 D wheat penny, Lincoln's facial features remain clear, including his jawline and hair detail, though there is visible wear on the highest points. The date and mint mark are sharp and easy to read, and the wheat stalks on the reverse are well defined with only moderate flattening. Some scratches are normal at this grade and usually result from years of circulation rather than damage. Now let's talk about value in today's market. A 1944 Abraham Lincoln wheat penny with D mint mark in very fine condition with some scratches generally has a modest value. Most examples are worth approximately 30 cents to $1. Coins with better eye appeal, fewer scratches, and more even color tend to sell closer to the higher end of this range, while coins with noticeable scratches or dull surfaces may sell closer to the lower end. Color plays a role in determining value as well. Most circulated 1944 D wheat pennies are classified as brown, which is the most common and least valuable color category. Red-brown examples may bring a small premium, while fully red coins are usually found in uncirculated grades and can be worth several dollars or more. However, coins with scratches are rarely considered fully red by collectors. It is important to understand that the value of the 1944 D wheat penny comes from collector demand and historical interest rather than rarity.
Millions were produced, and many survive today. Because of this, online listings sometimes show exaggerated prices that do not reflect actual selling values. Real market value depends on condition, eye appeal, and completed sales.
Next up, the 1942 Monticello 5 cents Jefferson Nickel, large date with a P mint mark, a coin that is historically significant and highly collectible. Even though this nickel is in fine condition, it remains an interesting and valuable piece for collectors. Jefferson Nickels from this era represent a fascinating period in American coinage, and coins like this one help us understand the design, production, and circulation of currency during the early 1940s. The Jefferson Nickel series was introduced in 1938, replacing the Buffalo nickel, and features Thomas Jefferson, the third President of the United States, on the obverse. The reverse of the coin depicts Monticello, Jefferson's home in Virginia, which has become an iconic symbol of his legacy. The 1942 nickel is particularly notable because it was produced just before the United States fully entered World War II. This was a time when coin production was beginning to feel the impact of wartime demands, making coins from this year historically significant. A 1942 Jefferson nickel with a P mint mark was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, as indicated by the small letter P on the reverse near Monticello. The large date variety of 1942 refers to the style of the numerals in the date, which are taller and more pronounced than the small date version. This subtle difference can influence collector interest, as many collectors seek to acquire both large and small date varieties to complete their sets. The large date 1942 P nickel is a standard but important collectible piece. The metal composition of the 1942 Jefferson nickel is primarily copper and nickel. This alloy provides durability while preserving the design details over decades of circulation. Unlike the wartime nickels struck in silver from 1942 to 1945, the 1942 Philadelphia large date nickel retained the copper-nickel alloy, making it more typical in composition but no less interesting to collectors. Over time, the coin may develop natural patina or color variations, adding character and historical authenticity. In fine condition, a 1942 Jefferson nickel displays moderate wear on Jefferson's portrait, with slight flattening on the cheek, jawline, and hair. Despite this, the main features of his face remain clearly recognizable. On the reverse, the Monticello building shows some wear, particularly on the highest points, but most architectural details are still visible. Fine condition coins strike a balance between historical authenticity and visual appeal, allowing collectors to appreciate both the age and design of the coin. Now let's discuss value in today's auction market. A 1942 Jefferson Nickel large date P mint mark in fine condition typically sells for around $3 to $10. Coins with better eye appeal, minimal wear, and sharper details may fetch slightly higher prices, especially in competitive auctions where collectors are seeking specific varieties. While this coin is not extremely rare, its value is influenced by condition, historical significance, and collector demand for the large date variety. Collectors often value Jefferson nickels for their combination of design, history, and accessibility. The 1942 large date P nickel is part of a pre-war series that circulated widely but is still highly collectible. Coins from this period provide insight into the mid-20th century economy, the minting practices of the Philadelphia Mint, and the daily lives of Americans who used these nickels for everyday transactions. It is important for collectors to handle coins carefully and avoid cleaning them aggressively. Harsh cleaning can damage the surface, remove natural patina, and reduce value. Proper storage in protective holders or sleeves helps preserve the coin's condition and prevents further wear or scratches. Even coins in fine condition maintain significant collectible importance when stored correctly and appreciated for their historical context. Next up, the 1937 Abraham Lincoln wheat penny with an S mint mark, a classic American coin that many collectors recognize and appreciate.
Even though this coin is not extremely rare, it comes from an important period in U.S. history and still holds value in today's coin market, even when found in good condition with some scratches. The Lincoln Wheat Penny series was introduced in 1909 to honor President Abraham Lincoln and continued until 1958. These pennies feature Lincoln's portrait on the front and 2 wheat stalks on the back, symbolizing growth and agriculture. The year 1937 falls during the later years of the Great Depression, a time when coins were heavily used in everyday transactions, which explains why many examples today show wear and surface marks. A 1937 S wheat penny with an S mint mark means the coin was struck at the San Francisco Mint. The small letter S appears below the date on the front of the coin. Compared to the Philadelphia and Denver mints, the San Francisco Mint often produced fewer coins, which can sometimes add extra collector interest. However, the 1937 S wheat penny was still produced in fairly large numbers, so it is not considered a rare coin. The metal composition of the 1937 wheat penny is primarily copper, mixed with small amounts of tin and zinc. Over many decades of circulation, copper coins naturally darken and develop a brown color. Most 1937 S pennies found today appear brown and show signs of wear, scratches, and small nicks from years of handling. When a coin is described as being in good condition, it means there is heavy wear across the surface, but the main design elements are still visible. On a 1937 S wheat penny in good condition, Lincoln's portrait will appear worn, especially on the hair and cheek, but his outline and facial features can still be recognized. The date and mint mark remain readable, and the wheat stalks on the reverse are worn but identifiable. Some scratches are normal for a coin in this condition and are expected after many years in circulation. Now let's talk about value in today's market. A 1937 Abraham Lincoln wheat penny with an S mint mark in good condition with some scratches generally has a modest value. Most examples are worth approximately 15 cents to 40 cents. Coins with slightly better eye appeal, fewer scratches, or more even color may sell closer to 50 cents, while heavily scratched or unattractive coins may be worth closer to face value. Color also affects value. Most circulated 1937 S pennies found today are classified as brown, which is the most common and least valuable color category. Red-brown coins are less common and may bring a small premium, while fully red coins are typically found only in higher grades and can be worth several dollars. However, coins in good condition with scratches are almost always brown. It is important to understand that the 1937 S wheat penny is not a rare or high-value coin. Its value comes mainly from collector demand and historical interest rather than scarcity. Many collectors seek this coin as part of a complete wheat penny date and mint mark set, which helps maintain steady demand even for lower-grade examples.
Next up, the 1947 Monticello 5 cents Jefferson nickel without a mint mark, a coin that is both historically significant and highly collectible. Even though this coin is from the mid-20th century, it remains a favorite among collectors, especially when found in extra-fine condition. Jefferson nickels like this one allow us to connect with American history and experience a piece of currency that circulated widely during a fascinating period in the United States. The Jefferson Nickel series was first introduced in 1938, replacing the Buffalo nickel, and features Thomas Jefferson, the third president of the United States, on the obverse. The reverse of the coin depicts Monticello, Jefferson's Virginia home, which has become an iconic symbol of his legacy and contributions to American history. The 1947 nickel was minted just after World War II, during a period of economic growth and stability in the United States. Coins from this era are interesting not only because of their design, but also because they reflect post-war American society and the everyday currency used by millions of Americans. A 1947 Jefferson nickel without a mint mark indicates that it was produced at the Philadelphia Mint, which did not use a mint mark at that time. Coins from Philadelphia are highly sought after by collectors who aim to complete full date and mint mark sets of Jefferson Nickels. The 1947 nickel is a standard issue from the series, but its appeal is enhanced when found in extra fine condition, as it retains much of its original detail and aesthetic charm. The metal composition of the 1947 Jefferson nickel is primarily a copper-nickel alloy. This composition makes the coin durable while preserving the details of the design over decades of circulation. Unlike the wartime nickels made with silver from 1942 to 1945, the 1947 nickel returned to the standard copper-nickel blend, which helped maintain the clarity and detail of Jefferson's portrait and the Monticello building. Over time, coins naturally develop toning and patina, and those in extra fine condition show only light wear, with most details fully preserved. In extra fine condition, a 1947 Jefferson nickel displays slight wear on Jefferson's portrait, particularly on the high points of the cheek, jawline, and hair. Despite this wear, the facial features remain clearly defined, giving the coin excellent visual appeal. On the reverse, Monticello shows minor flattening on the highest architectural points, but the overall building design, including the columns and dome, remains sharp and easily identifiable. Coins in extra fine condition strike a balance between authentic circulation and collector appeal, making them highly desirable. Now let's talk about value in today's auction market. A 1947 Jefferson nickel without a mint mark in extra fine condition generally sells for around $5 to $15. Coins with better eye appeal, more even coloring, or slightly sharper details can command higher prices, especially when sold in competitive auctions. While this coin is not considered rare, its value is enhanced by its condition and the interest of collectors seeking to complete Jefferson nickel sets with high-quality examples. Collectors appreciate Jefferson Nickels for their combination of design, history, and accessibility. The 1947 nickel is part of a post-war era that saw widespread circulation, yet coins that survive in extra fine condition are particularly appealing. Owning a coin like this allows collectors to hold a tangible piece of mid-20th century American history and enjoy the artistry and detail of the Jefferson Nickel design.
Next up, the 1929 Abraham Lincoln wheat penny without a mint mark, a coin that comes from a very important and dramatic period in American history. Even though this penny is not considered rare, it still holds steady interest among collectors, especially when found in fine condition, even with some scratches from long years of circulation. The Lincoln Wheat Penny series began in 1909 and continued until 1958. These coins feature a portrait of President Abraham Lincoln on the front and two wheat stalks on the back, symbolizing growth and prosperity. The year 1929 is especially meaningful because it marks the beginning of the Great Depression, a time when the American economy changed forever. Coins from this year were widely used, which is why many surviving examples show noticeable wear. A 1929 wheat penny without a mint mark means the coin was produced at the Philadelphia Mint. Philadelphia coins do not have a letter below the date, unlike Denver coins marked with a D or San Francisco coins marked with an S. The Philadelphia Mint struck a large number of pennies in 1929, making this version fairly common compared to some earlier dates in the wheat penny series. The metal composition of the 1929 wheat penny is primarily copper, with small amounts of tin and zinc. Over time, copper coins naturally darken and develop a brown tone, especially when they have been handled and circulated for decades. Scratches, small nicks, and surface marks are common on coins from this era and are generally expected. When a coin is described as being in fine condition, it means there is moderate wear across the surface, but the main design details remain visible. On a fine 1929 wheat penny, Lincoln's hair and facial features will show wear, but his portrait is still clearly defined. The date and lettering are readable, and the wheat stalks on the reverse are worn but still recognizable. Some scratches are normal in this condition and usually come from years of everyday use rather than abuse. Now let's discuss value in today's market.
A 1929 Abraham Lincoln wheat penny without a mint mark in fine condition with some scratches generally has a modest value. Most examples are worth approximately 20 to 60 cents. Coins with better eye appeal, fewer scratches, and more even color may sell for slightly more, while heavily scratched or dull-looking coins may be worth closer to the lower end of that range. Color also plays a role in value. Most circulated 1929 wheat pennies are brown, which is the most common and least valuable color classification. Red-brown coins are less common and may bring a small premium, while fully red examples are typically found only in higher grades and can be worth several dollars. However, coins in fine condition with scratches are almost always brown. It is important to understand that the 1929 wheat penny without a mint mark is not a rare coin. Its value comes mainly from collector interest and historical significance rather than scarcity. Many collectors enjoy owning coins from the late 1920s because they represent the final years before major economic changes in the United States. For this reason, the 1929 penny remains a popular addition to wheat penny collections.
Next up, the 1943 Monticello 5-cents Jefferson Nickel large date with a P mint mark, a coin that is both historically significant and highly collectible. Even though it is in good condition, it remains an interesting piece for collectors, offering a tangible connection to mid-20th century American coinage. Jefferson nickels like this one represent an important part of U.S. history, reflecting both the design evolution of coins and the economic context of the early 1940s. The 1943 nickel was first introduced in 1938, replacing the Buffalo nickel, and features Thomas Jefferson, the third president of the United States, on the obverse. The reverse of the coin depicts Monticello, Jefferson's Virginia home, which has become an iconic symbol of his legacy. The 1943 nickel was produced during the early years of World War II, a period that affected the production and circulation of coins. Although the 1943 Philadelphia nickels were made with the standard copper-nickel alloy, the era remains historically significant as coins were circulating through an economy impacted by the war. A 1943 Jefferson nickel with a P mint mark indicates that it was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, as identified by the small letter P on the reverse near Monticello. The large date variety refers to the style of the numerals in the date, which are taller and more prominent compared to the small date variety. This detail is particularly important for collectors, as many seek to obtain both large and small date versions to complete full sets. The large date 1943 P nickel is a common coin, but remains collectible, especially when in good condition. The metal composition of the 1943 Jefferson nickel is primarily a copper-nickel alloy. Unlike the wartime silver nickels produced in 1942 to 1945, the 1943 Philadelphia large-date nickel retained the standard copper-nickel blend. This alloy allows for durability while preserving the details of Jefferson's portrait and the Monticello design over decades of circulation. Over time, coins may develop natural patina or toning, which can add character and collector appeal. In good condition, a 1943 Jefferson nickel displays moderate wear on Jefferson's portrait, particularly on the cheek, jawline, and hair, but the facial features remain recognizable. The Monticello building on the reverse shows some flattening at the high points, but the main architectural elements, including the columns and dome, are still clear. Coins in good condition strike a balance between authenticity and collector appeal, allowing the coin to be both a piece of history and an attractive collectible. Now let's discuss value in today's auction market. A 1943 Jefferson nickel large date P mint mark in good condition typically sells for around $3 to $8. Coins with sharper details, better eye appeal, or more even toning may fetch higher prices, especially when sold through auctions where collectors actively seek specific varieties. While this coin is not rare, its value is influenced by condition, historical context, and collector interest in the large date variety. Collectors appreciate Jefferson nickels for their design, history, and affordability.
The 1943 large-date P nickel is part of a series that's circulated widely, yet coins in good condition remain appealing because they retain most of their design features and provide a tangible connection to the early 1940s. Coins from this period allow collectors to experience a piece of history, representing everyday currency used by Americans during a significant time. It is important for collectors to handle coins carefully and avoid cleaning them aggressively. Cleaning can damage the surface and remove natural patina, which reduces collector value. Proper storage in protective holders or sleeves preserves the coin's condition and prevents further wear or scratches. Even a good condition coin maintains collectible importance when cared for properly.
Next up, the 1953 Abraham Lincoln wheat penny with D mint mark, a coin that is part of the final years of the wheat penny series. Even though this coin is common, it still has interest among collectors, especially when it comes in unusual color shades or with wear and scratches. Coins like this one tell a story of everyday life in the United States during the early 1950s and are still sought after for collections. The Lincoln Wheat Penny series was introduced in 1909 and continued until 1958. These coins feature a portrait of President Abraham Lincoln on the front and two wheat stalks on the reverse, symbolizing prosperity and agriculture. By 1953, Lincoln pennies had been in circulation for decades, and millions were being used in everyday transactions. As a result, many coins from this year are found with wear, scratches, and discoloration from handling and environmental exposure. A 1953 wheat penny with D mint mark means it was struck at the Denver Mint. The small letter D appears below the date on the front of the coin. Denver produced a large number of pennies in 1953, so this coin is fairly common. Even so, the coin remains collectible because collectors often seek to complete full date and mint mark sets, and the 1953 D is an essential part of that collection. The metal composition of the 1953 wheat penny is primarily copper, with small amounts of tin and zinc. Over time, these coins develop color shades ranging from brown to red-brown. Some pennies even develop uneven or unusual tones due to oxidation or environmental exposure. A dirty coin may have accumulated dirt, grime, or surface discoloration along with scratches from circulation. These factors affect its eye appeal and therefore its market value. When a coin is described as being in dirty condition, it means that dirt or surface discoloration covers parts of the coin, and it may also show scratches or minor damage. On a 1953 D wheat penny, Lincoln's portrait is visible but may be worn, and the wheat stalks on the reverse are still identifiable but less sharp. The date and mint mark remain readable. Even with dirt and scratches, the coin still has collectible value, though lower than coins in better condition. Now let's talk about value in today's market. A 1953 Abraham Lincoln wheat penny with D mint mark in color, shade, and dirty condition with some scratches is generally worth a small amount. Most examples sell for about 5 cents to 20 cents. Coins with slightly better eye appeal, less dirt, and fewer scratches may reach closer to 30 cents, while coins in very poor condition may only be worth face value. The coin's value comes mainly from being a collectible wheat penny rather than from rarity or special features. Color and appearance also affect value. Most 1953 D wheat pennies are brown, with some showing reddish-brown shades. Uneven color or dark spots can lower collector interest, while even color with natural toning may be slightly more desirable. Dirty coins, however, rarely increase in value unless the dirt can be safely removed without harming the original metal. It is important to note that the 1953 D wheat penny is not considered rare or high value. Its appeal is mostly for collectors who want to complete date and mint mark collections. Most 1953 D pennies are available in circulation or coin rolls, and their market price reflects their common status. Even in dirty condition with scratches, the coin has historical interest and remains part of the wheat penny story.
Collectors should always check for mint errors or unusual varieties, while rare, errors such as doubled dies, off-center strikes, or planchet defects can increase value significantly. However, most 1953D pennies do not have these errors, and scratched or dirty coins without special features remain standard collectible coins.